Welcome to GetTheSmokeOut.com, the internet's first and only online TV show dedicated to secondhand smoke removal. I'm your host, Dan Buglio, and this is Get the Smoke Out, a program dedicated to helping you eliminate that nasty smelling, health-sacrificing secondhand smoke from your life. Now, why do we really want to look at secondhand smoke? Why not primary smoke? Well, first of all, primary smoke is what you inhale directly into your lungs. So realistically, there's not much you can do about it. You can't stop that. You can't minimize that exposure. So the only thing we can deal with is the secondhand smoke, which is the smoke that comes off the end of the cigarette or the cigar, and also the smoke that's exhaled from the smoker's mouth and lungs. Really, that's the only thing we can control, so that's what we're going to focus on. Now, for you homeowners, let me see if I understand your possible scenario. You've got a family member who smokes and it drives the rest of you crazy. Maybe you're the smoker and everybody else is giving you grief all the time. I'm sure there's family tensions, people leaving the room when you're smoking. I've even had many cases where somebody will call and say, I can't bring my kids to see their grandparents because the grandparents' home reeks of smoke, feels unhealthy, you walk out of there smelling, it's just awful. So that's a real bad situation that we run into quite a lot. Now, if you live in an apartment or a condo, I also feel your pain. I can't tell you how many calls we get where we hear from an apartment resident who lives above or next door to a smoker, and they're stuck with the smoke and the smell. And guess what? The smoker either doesn't care or doesn't believe that it's a problem. Well, truth is, it is a real problem. Now, let's say you've got a weekly poker game you want to have in your home, but unfortunately the smoke is permeating the rest of the house, or that leaves the rec room or the basement or the garage smelling like smoke for weeks. You really want to try to address that. Lastly, as a homeowner, if you've got anybody in the home with allergies, asthma, cancer, heart disease, or any other respiratory illness, bronchitis or anything like that, you really need to address this secondhand smoke problem because it really is the cause of many of those other things, and even if it's not the cause, it can certainly make them worse. So there's really not a lot good that I can say about smoke. And here's the worst part. You've probably been online looking for a solution, and there's very little out there. You can't find good information. You see hundreds of different products from different companies, and really you don't know what's going to work. You've possibly even tried some of the technology with marginal results. Now, let's be realistic. The results probably sucked. So we're here to really try to help demystify what technologies work, how to apply them, how to create the best environment for yourself and your home. Now, for you business owners, whether you own a bar, a restaurant, a bingo hall, if you're in charge of looking into this problem for a VFW or American Legion Hall, you've probably got either old, outdated equipment that's been poorly maintained, or maybe even you just shut it off altogether because it's not doing anything. You probably go home from work smelling like smoke, in a hurry to take off your clothes, jump in the shower and wash that smell off of you and your hair. You possibly even have smoker's cough even though you don't smoke yourself. You may not even be able to stand going into your own place of business because it feels too unhealthy to you. So imagine the effect on your staff and your customers and what that actually does to your bottom line. So what I'm going to cover in future episodes is selecting the right technology for your exact situation, for your building, for your ceiling height, type of ceiling. We're going to cover sizing for success. There's a tipping point. Too little technology and you're going to feel like nothing's working. Having enough, bang, all of a sudden you get the results you want. So I'm going to help you figure out how to size for success and make sure it's done right. We're going to cover installation considerations, the best way to set up the equipment, position to create the airflow you need. We're going to cover the maintenance side of things, get into some success stories as well. Now, I do want to admit, I do sell smoke removal equipment for homes and businesses. I'd be lying to you if I told you that I didn't want you as a customer. Well, of course I do. But really what's more important to me is making sure that no matter who you buy from, or whether or not you just don't smoke at all in your business or your home, I want to leave you better off after watching this show than you were before the show. More educated, more able to make a logical, reasoned decision about how you can solve this secondhand smoke problem in your life. Now, this episode is going to have one tip, and it sounds really stupid because, frankly, if you guys all listened to it, I'd be out of business. So here's tip number one: kick the smokers out. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the only way to absolutely ensure zero risk, health risk, and home damage, and family tension risk. It's the only way to get that out completely. It doesn't matter what type of smoke removal equipment you've got. It's not going to be nearly as good as having no smoking at all. So I know you guys are probably saying, well, that's unrealistic. We can't do that. I can't kick grandma out. She's in a wheelchair. How's she going to go out into the garage or outside when it's 20 degrees out? I understand. And I know it's not possible to always do that. And I know you business owners, you probably depend a lot on those smokers to feed yourself, to provide most of the revenue for your business. So I know kicking the smokers out is unrealistic and not always possible. But I did have to say that's the best way to ensure the minimum risk to yourself, your family, and your business. Knowing that's the case, that it's unrealistic, I'm going to get into, in future episodes, all the things you need to know, like I said, to make a educated, solid decision on what you can do to solve this problem. So, a couple requests. Over here on the right side of the screen, there's a section where you can input a question. Go ahead and tell me your most important question that you've got about smoke, the one that you've been struggling to find an answer for and just unable to do so. And then down below, there's either a section where you can enter a comment or a link that says comments. Please let me know what you thought of this video, whether or not you thought it was helpful. Tell me a little story about how this applied to you, and maybe you can tell a story about how this information helped you out. It doesn't really matter, but I do want your feedback. Even if you hate the videos, tell me that. Let me know how I can improve them for the future. So, in conclusion, let me just say, leave me a comment, ask me a question, leave me a comment, and I really hope to hear from you, because this should be a two-way street. It's not just me preaching. It's really me talking to you guys, getting to know you better, and helping you solve your problems. So, until the next time, I'm your host, Dan Buglio, and this is GetTheSmokeOut.com.